guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, hi, I'm Erica and I post unboxing videos, reviews and the occasional vlog. Today I will be unboxing and reviewing the Moto Razr 50, also called Razr 2024. They give the same phone two different names for some reason depending on which continent they're marketing it in. Before we start, I want to say I had bought this phone in November 2024 and started editing the review around December of the same year and throughout 2025. I didn't have time to focus on my YouTube, so this video is quite backlogged, but I wanted to post it anyway in case anyone is looking into buying this phone this year and wants an honest and unsponsored review. Okay, so moving on to the first impression, the aesthetic of the packaging is so cool. I love the matte black cardboard look with chrome text and logo, but even more so the fact that it's plastic-free packaging and using soy ink, and it's also FSC certified. If you know me or watched any of my other videos, you know I love everything earth-friendly without any greenwashing. So yeah, it came with this kind of glue stuff damage, but it's okay. I took my time opening the box because firstly I wanted some ASMR aspect to this unboxing, but mainly it was because I was nervous and excited to bring back nostalgic memories of my teen years with a Motorola flip phone. So yeah, I look contained, but I was screaming internally when I was opening this. Also, just a disclaimer, I'm not a professional tech person who reviews phones for a living at all, far from it. I'm just unboxing and sharing my thoughts and review on the product. As I mentioned earlier, I bought this months ago now, but I wanted to use it and test it out properly before sharing my opinion on it, and then I just never got to upload it for ages, but I finally got to it, so I hope someone still finds this helpful, I guess. As with all phones, it comes with a SIM card tray opener, and also like most phones these days, this one too doesn't come with a charger block. They just include a charger cable with both ends being USB-C type. It comes with its own screen protector, which is great because I find putting a screen protector on a phone to be so annoying and I genuinely dread it so much. And the screen protector only comes on the internal screen, not the outer screen, and as you can see they tell you clearly not to remove this protector or it will damage the display, and somewhere in the box it does mention that if you remove the protector you'll void warranty. So I got the Spritz orange one, and fun fact, Motorola have a partnership with Pantone to license their colors and some are even trademarked, but only the Ultra range has those, so the Spritz orange isn't in that list. And anyway, it comes in vegan leather on the back covering the entire bottom of the phone and a small area on the flip part just above the screen. The faux leather doesn't feel cheap at all, actually the texture both feels and looks quite luxurious, but even more than aesthetic purposes, it provides a strong, no slippery grip. The rest of the phone is the external screen, which is a Gorilla Glass Victus, but I'll get into more details about this display later on, because moving on to the first impression of the internal display, the fold is rarely visible. It's only visible at a certain angle and you can see it shows more on camera with the overhead light, but in real it looks quite flat and subtle. The rest of the build is the frame and also the hinge, which are made of glossy 6000 series aluminium, if it means anything to you, because it doesn't to me, keeping it real. But it's supposed to be a very strong aluminium. Going back to the color, because it's just so gorgeous and I'm obsessed. The contrast between the two finishes, the matte from the leather against the shine from the aluminium, complements the color dynamic so well. It pops off the color a lot more than if it were fully aluminium or fully leather matte finish, and it's a great combination in the design. But anyway, moving on to more of the build. The hinge is fully covered when opened and there's no gap in the fold, so it opens fully flat without any wobbling. Then there's a SIM slot on the top left, the charger port at the bottom as always, the mics which are found on both the top and the bottom of the phone, and the on and off and volume buttons on the right side. So first, the switching on a new phone ritual. My excitement was real, especially since it was a flip like I mentioned earlier. I had been wanting this for so long. So this is the UI when you first switch it on, and it's the standard with Android phones. Select your language, and of course I had to change from US English to British English. And here you can see how subtle the crease is. It's barely noticeable, especially when the background is white or light color. Okay, so moving on to the SIM slot. It only has space for one physical SIM card and no slot for a micro SD card for storage expansion. If you want a dual SIM though, it does support that, as it offers the possibility for an eSIM instead. Okay, so before I get into more details about the displays, here are the apps it starts with. I don't use some social apps and I don't like that it comes with them, but anyway, it's just a simple uninstall. Another thing, it's not easy to recognize your fingerprint while it's closed. I think it's a mix of both the sensor and the position of the button, but anyway, after some time I got used to it. Moving on to the outer display, it gives you another reminder to not remove the screen protector. It's referring to the internal display as it doesn't come with a screen protector on the outer one. Here are some of the games it comes with, and it's flashing because of the tutorial, not because it's lagging. The display itself is 3.6-inch POLED FHD with 90Hz refresh rate and 120Hz touch rate, peak brightness of 1.7K nits, and as mentioned earlier, Gorilla Glass Victus protection. Okay, so moving on to the main and internal display, it's 6.9-inch FHD Plus POLED with peak brightness of 3000 nits. And I want to add that I had already changed the wallpaper here with a picture I had taken, but I'll show the themes it comes with because they're pretty cute, and here are the 6 of them. The touchscreen has good sensitivity with a touch sampling rate of 120Hz up to 220 and 300Hz in game mode only. I didn't game on this phone, however, so I won't review its performance when it comes to gaming. Here are the built-in fonts and customization settings, and this is going to be a walkthrough of the options. It has the usual icon customization, etc., but the UI is nothing but annoying. They make different paths or buttons to take you to the same setting, and there's no point for it other than confusion and waste of time. Just as you can see here, having 2 ways to get to the dark and light theme mode, it's pointless and not user friendly. And just like this, there's a few other settings too that have different paths to get to them. And I feel this sounds like nitpicking, but I don't see the point of finding where to change a setting, move on to the next customization, to only end up at the same setting I had already set. Really, the entire thing is super annoying because just why? Just have one button for each setting, not multiple ways to end up at the same destination. And actually, here's another example of another setting, in this case the font option, having 2 different paths to get to it. But anyway, as I was yapping on how annoying the UI is, you could see a walkthrough of the wallpaper customization settings, and they have quite a lot of features to play around. Okay, so moving on to the external display customization, here's a quick walkthrough of some of its features, and like the internal settings, this also has a lot of options to play around with, and it even has more fonts to choose from than the internal ones. So starting with the lock screen settings, as they're different from the home screen ones, which we'll see in a moment. The lock screen has many themes to choose from, and it has this cute Moo guy whose timetable you can set to match yours or give him his own plan, and it has many options like coffee, work, dinner, even naps, etc. As mentioned, there's also a lot of other themes to choose from, some of which you can customize, but Moo stole my heart. He's also interactive, which we'll see later, where you can tap to interrupt his activity and he'll react by giving you or showing you something. The external settings also provide the option to change display and font size. Moving on to the home screen settings of the external display, you can move around and add or remove which apps you'd like quick access to. There's also many themes and wallpapers to choose from, including Moo, and fun fact, they actually have a game where you can play with Moo to unlock more of his wallpapers. So here's a quick walkthrough of the options, some of which are live wallpapers but not interactive, unlike the lock screen ones when using Moo. And here's an example of how Moo is interactive. You can see him having boba after shopping, and he will react differently depending on what activity he's doing at the time. In this case, he gives you a little gift. Back to the build, specifically the side buttons, I found them to be quite annoying, especially to switch it off for restart. You need to press the bottom unlock sensor and the top volume button instead of the two buttons next to each other, which I found to be bad taste in design because it's not comfortable. But anyway, that could be personal preference. And to screenshot, it uses the bottom volume button and the unlock sensor button. Also, as I mentioned earlier, the fingerprint sensor doesn't always recognize your fingerprint easily, and it's not a one-off thing to happen. Okay, so moving on to a cool feature on this phone, which you'll find way down in the settings. As you can see, it's actually just a feature for aesthetic purposes to feed our nostalgia. For those who had the original Y2K Motorola flip phones, you know that the design and sound were unmatched back then, and they actually edited on this phone, which I thought was so cute and I loved it. And as you can see, the UI is actually usable, so if you want to, you can call through it, use Bluetooth, etc. It's the type of feature that you'll use a few times only to never use again, but still I'm happy they added it because it was a nice fun thing to re-experience and also to show it around to family and friends who had the Moto Flip back then, because it really brings back nostalgia. Moving on to the camera, when using the main camera, you'll have different options on what to show on the external display. You can either show a preview, which will be like a mirror to whoever's looking at it, or switch it off. The preview option has two choices, one with a no crop like so, which shows the full aspect ratio you choose, and the other option is the cropped version 1:1, which covers the full screen like so. Note that the preview mode, whether you choose cropped or non-cropped, it won't affect the actual aspect ratio of the photo being taken. And final, choosing to switch preview off will just show a black screen. Then there's a different option that I also really liked called Camera Cartoon. It's a simple animation that changes colors and face expressions, and I think it's great for kids or pets to capture their attention when you need them to look at the camera. Also note, this phone doesn't have its own gallery app, as Moto generally use Google Photos as their default one. Moving on to the quality of the pictures, videos and video sound. Starting with the pictures, it was mostly a hit or miss. The result isn't consistent, and it also uses AI to try fix the shot. As you can see here, it was adding a weird black shadow in the sky around the building that completely ruins the photo, and this speaks volume because when it comes to landscape or architecture photos, it performs a lot better than portrait photos. On both normal and portrait mode, quality is just awful. I can't even express. It comes out a disaster, especially when you're not close up, because it gets terribly pixelated, leaving you looking like someone else. I mean, look at these, they're completely distorted. I barely look like me. Quality is even worse at night, as you can see here. Once again, hit and miss, taken with the same camera seconds apart. Some selfies or close-up portrait shots did come out fine, but results were so unpredictable, and to me that just makes it a terrible camera and software. Also, even though I switched AI settings off, it was still messing up with the final results on all types of photos. The main camera has a 50 megapixel main sensor with 13 megapixel ultra-wide sensor, which sounds good but are both terrible in practice in my opinion. The selfie camera is 32 megapixel, but the quality is so bad I have a hard time believing it. The zoom on this cam is digital zoom only, no telephoto lens available, so all zoom is done by cropping and software enlargement. Okay, moving on to the video. Video quality is somewhat decent. Both the main and selfie cameras have two options: 4K Ultra HD up to 30 FPS or 1080 Full HD, which supports both 30 and 60 FPS. As I said, the video quality is somewhat okay, but sometimes the FPS is too low, even though it should at least be 30, and some glitching is involved. When there's wind and stabilization is on, it's not in any way smooth, and there's a lot of unnatural shaking or glitching again, as you can see. To make things even worse, the sound is terrible. The microphone catches background noise even louder than it does your close-up voice when you're talking to the camera. I actually filmed my previous video, a full travel vlog with this phone, and I had a terrible time editing it because of how bad the sound was, and I was also super disappointed with the low quality videos that came out from it. You can go check it out to see what I mean with the low FPS issue. Not so much with the sound, since I spent a lot of time editing it trying to fix it, but as you can see here, for steady videos that don't require too much FPS, the quality is quite good, and it's such a shame that the camera isn't consistent and that it doesn't perform well when shooting anything else basically. In a nutshell, for steady videos it's good except for the sound, but for movement not so much. Something I really liked about this phone is when you're recording a video, you can hold it as a camcorder and the screen will split into two. The top part will be showing your view, of course, and on the bottom side, you'll have the tap settings to start or stop. And you can also swipe your finger in any direction to zoom in or out, or you also have the usual zoom option buttons on the camera screen. One last thing, the haptics on this phone are so-and-so in my opinion. I guess it's subjective, but it's not the smoothest out there. It does have quite a few options to customize the levels though, and I put mine on the second lowest setting, which made it feel less annoying, I guess. I ended up returning this phone because I was just too disappointed with the camera, especially since it's a flip phone and the point of it is to record content using the main cam with supposedly good quality instead of a selfie cam. And the mic catching more background noise and closer voices also made it impractical, and all in all, I thought it wasn't a phone worth having or spending money on, even if it's just a mid-range phone. That's it for this video. I hope you found it helpful. If you did, please leave a thumbs up and comment down below. Also, if you don't want to miss future videos, please subscribe. Until then, take care. Bye!